From a player who's struggling with their addiction to their phone to a party struggling with a bossy ranger. And what exactly is a Taboshi? You're gonna have to stick around to see. I'm Saya from Tabletop Mayhem, and if you enjoy these types of juicy stories, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out. Now, we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We normally get our stories from Reddit RPG horror stories, but today we are going to dive into the Reddit Am I the A-Hole TTRPG, and I handpicked these 3 posts just for you. Our first story, AITA, House Rules Now Come with Consequences. Hi there, DM of a game here, and I'm just looking for a bit of feedback on something that has been going on for now nearly a year. I have a group of 5, and there is this one, let's call her Sue, that is always on her phone. I don't mean like checking her phone for messages. I mean, not my turn, phone time. My character isn't in this conversation, phone time. And then every time it comes to her turn, Sue asks, what's going on? Mind you, this campaign has been going on for nearly a year now. The breaking point where I implemented my new rule is that I had a map with red squares added to them and said, these are your objectives. The more you save, the higher the payout. That got everyone's attention as several people, including Sue, were vying for upgrades that needed a lot of money to get. Initiative is rolled and we begin. Note, most of us have our webcams on as we are doing this. Sue asks that so we would all feel more immersed. I look at Sue, who is on deck, only to find her on her phone. Again, I call on Sue for her turn. Phone goes down and she asks, what are the red squares? I explain. And combat progresses. Turn 6, combat has been going well. Sue is on deck, on her phone. Her turn arrives. What are the red squares? She asks. I can't answer, so I briefly leave the call to compose myself before rejoining. Sue leaves the call 5 minutes later, doesn't say anything, doesn't message me or anything. Combat wraps up, money is awarded, and I ponder my dilemma. Posting a new channel in Discord, I post 5 rules and their adjacent consequences and ask all members to comment stating that they've read and agree. Cue Sue's message to me. She starts freaking out that I am targeting her and that it's hard for her to focus because of her ADHD. Side note, I too have ADHD and understand, but this has gone on long enough. To make matters worse, or better, according to my other players, she refuses to play with us until I issue a formal apology to her for targeting her with the rules. The rule in question was if you're on your phone on your turn and ask what is going on, your turn is skipped. You should be paying attention, especially in combat. Sue took this as a personal attack. I have to call her out on it a lot, but the rest of the crew is guilty as well. It's been 3 sessions since Sue left the party, and each day demands I apologize to her for hurting her feelings. I replied with, I will not apologize. You will apologize to me for always being on your phone. That is very disrespectful to me as a DM. Sue did not take that well and hasn't spoken to me since. AITA. The DM of this story did write in some additional information in the comments that I think is important to know. Sue is 19, and he had been working with her for the past year, trying to help her not be on her phone by helping her find other coping mechanisms. Because he has ADHD too, he fidgets as well. So he was really trying to help her find other ways of not being so disruptive to their game. He even came up with a game where he gave her a stuffed animal that she put on her head, and they called it the Fuzzy Hat of Focus. So I think he was immensely compassionate and very kind and having to deal with a situation like this for super long, which makes me double down when I say that he's absolutely not the a-hole in this situation at all. I do think that the phone is now a bigger issue because even if you have ADHD or you don't have ADHD, social media in general, the Reels, the TikToks, the YouTube shorts, all of that is immensely addictive. You're getting those little dopamine hits and your attention span is being damaged. It's being shortened. So I feel like when you throw ADHD into that mix, it really can be just a very addictive, very hard to quit situation. To me, it feels like she's a lot more addicted to the phone than she's using it as a coping mechanism for ADHD and losing focus. So I am saying that as someone who also has ADHD and has has have to find ways of, sometimes bringing myself back into the present and staying there. So I'm not trying to be heartless at all. I definitely, that's the feeling I'm getting. I will tell you that I think he handled it in a lot nicer way than I would have. I would have stopped addressing Sue in game. I think I would have played these little games where how long can I go before Sue realizes I haven't called upon her. Like, I just would have I would have given her a few seconds of wait to see if she responds. But if she doesn't respond, I'd been like, no, like, I'm just going to continue on. And I would have done it like nicely, but I don't think you can say kind, because it's not kind to do that. But if she called me out, I'd wait for her to call me out. And then I would say, oh, you looked like you were really invested in what you were doing, or, I didn't want to disturb you while you were on your phone. And I think that I would have just started saying things like that, but I would have only done that after I had addressed her privately about the phone. Like, hey man, this can't happen no more. And if she's like, fine, like, I get it, then I would have probably been playing those little games, because I feel like once you have that FOMO, once you have that fear of missing out, it could be a potential motivation to trying to be in the game, or she probably would have also asked for an apology. And I just there's nothing really to apologize for. Her feelings were hurt, but it's her actions that led to them. So definitely not the a-hole in this situation. Our second story, are we the a-holes? So I've been playing a campaign with this person for over a year. At first it was 3, but now we've gotten 3 more players for a total of 6. Well, being one of the 3 originals, another who plays a barbarian, and the other who plays the ranger, I'm playing a warlock, and I'll refer to them by classes. At the start, it was decent. The ranger would kind of take charge all the time and would need a bit of convincing for myself and the barbarian, so we didn't get a TPK on some occasions. Well, recently we picked up a fighter, a cleric, and a paladin. Now it's been over 6 months playing all together, but the ranger has stepped up and pretty much ordering what everyone should be doing and how we should play, and always taking over and constantly interrupting the DM when he's trying to explain something. Example would be, so you enter a tavern. Ranger, who's all in there? How many people? Do they look dangerous? Even before he has a chance to explain the scene. The fighter and the barbarian have started to quit RPing unless the ranger is not attending, and it's frustrating. Are we going to be the a-holes if we start in character making comments about the plans and such? We don't want the ranger to leave. Well, I don't. But some have been starting to get issues with the ordering and what the party will do every time there's a decision. The very first comment under this post is, are you guys a-holes for wanting to play the game too? And that really just sums it up. No, you guys are not the a-holes for also wanting to play the game, to make decisions for your own characters in this collaborative teamwork story building game. No, you're not. I do know how the dynamic of this got started, and it was because you guys started out as a team of 3. You guys were probably not as assertive as the ranger. It's really funny this is ranger. It's like the unwanted stepchild of D&D. Someone's going to respect him. But he probably took the leadership role, and that's not uncommon at all. And you guys were probably fine with it. It doesn't seem like you had any issues with it. But when you had the 3 new characters came in, he really wanted to assert dominance over the group because he's already played being the main character, essentially. And you guys didn't put up a resistance, so he thought the story was about him. So he asserted his dominance over them as well. But because you two because you guys let him treat you that way, I think that the 3 players also just thought that that's what they were supposed to do. Like, they just kind of fell in line because you also didn't challenge his authority. And that's an easy thing to happen. What should have happened is he took a step back and you guys should have reformed a party, so it should have just been like 3 friends and 3 friends, not his party that they're joining. It should have just been a new party. And that didn't happen. And honestly, your DM should have really helped that situation. But I'm just curious as to, has anybody talked to this player about his behavior, about what he's doing? Has anybody talked to the DM? Is the DM aware this is how you guys feel? I think that the guy posting this is incredibly sweet. I think he's a very, very nice guy who is trying to really stand up for players that are being ignored or being bossed around. And I think that I can give you some ways to handle this in game if you don't want to outright have a conversation. Obviously, having a conversation is step 1, but if you don't want to do that, some things that you can do in game is when he comes up with a plan or he starts telling people what to do, you can be like, oh, that's a really good plan. What do you think we should do, cleric? What do you think we should do, barbarian? Oh, interesting. And if he and then actively, not a-holy, but actively choose to do one of those things. I'd be like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think I'm going to do that. And don't give him the opportunity of like saying no, but like, no, I'm going to do that. And then also in an opportunity when he is trying to tell you exactly what you should be doing, like you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, I think that you can be like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I think it makes more sense for my character to do this. You know, this is my character. I think this is what my character would do. And even if it's like, it's actively going against him, doing it nicely and respectfully, but by taking that step up against him, it will also allow, like, you will be setting the precedent, and you will be getting support for other players to also start doing the same thing. And I think that is fine. You can also talk to the other players about it. It sounds like you have talked to the other players about it, but you could almost actively get them to do the same thing in a scenario, which is kind of going behind someone's back. But if the DM's not willing to do this and you're not willing to have a conversation, I think that is something you could possibly do. I'm just saying doing it kindly and doing it respectfully, because I don't think the player realizes, because you guys have allowed him to do this for a year, that what he's doing is something you guys don't want if you guys haven't had that conversation with him. But ultimately, you're not an a-hole. Hopefully these work for you. Like, hopefully you can use some of these tools. But no, you are absolutely in the right to fight for this, and to actively try to change this in your campaign. I wish you all the luck. Our last story. AITA for not saying one of my party members' preferred pronunciation of their race because I already knew their name. I am a 39-year-old changeling disguised as an Eldarin traveling with a group up towards the city of Aglorian for a festival known as the King's Game. One of my companions is quite an oddity, if I must say. They have the lower half and ears of a cat, much like a tabaxi, and a human-like face and torso. That's weird. During our introductions, they said their name was Summer Breeze. One night around the campfire, during a watch that me and Summer had taken together, I decided to ask about their odd appearance and whether they held any relation to a tabaxi. Summer then proudly exclaimed that they were a Taboshi, and something that completely separate from those cat people. Here's where I may be the a-hole. I then said, just so you know, I am never going to call you that, ... And I was going to continue, but a yawn came over me at the worst moment, stopping me from continuing what I was saying. Then Summer got angry with me, calling me rude, disrespectful, and ungrateful at what they had done for me. I then said, please let me finish what I was saying. I'm going to say that I'm not going to call you that because I already knew your name. Calling you by your race and not your name just seems redundant and an act of disrespect itself. Please refrain from jumping to conclusions so fast. Summer then humped and sat back down, this time facing away from me. They haven't talked to me since, and it's been multiple days, but no one else in the party had said anything, so I don't think they've told anyone yet. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Okay, so the edit here is the post is being made from the POV of the character, not me, the player. The character is asking if he is the a-hole, not me. Yeah, I know that I'm the only person who thinks this person's a-hole. After reading the comments, everybody says NTA. I do think you are, because of how this was handled. The way that you addressed this person's, like, you asked this person about themselves, they told you, and you said, I'm not ever going to call you that. What's the point in saying any of that? Like, what's the point? And then the yawn, though I know you say it was accidental, I will give you that. It was accidental. But when you're like, don't jump to conclusions, that's such a rude ass thing to say. I'm sorry. I will fight everybody in these comments. Absolutely. Not only that, like, everybody in the comments says that you should probably apologize just for the sake of apologizing, so no feelings are hurt, or try to say that this was from my character's point of view. I didn't mean to yawn, and that made it come off a lot worse. Yeah, I do think you should do that, because you asked her a question. She was so excited to share with you her character's choice, her backstory. She was so excited for that, and you shut her down. And intentional or not, your wording too is not nice. It's not a nice thing to say. Just so you know, I'm never going to call you that. Like, yawn or not, if you didn't yawn and you still continued with that, it's still rude. Like, there's no reason to bring that up in a conversation, and I'm going to stand by that. I think this was a rude thing to say. So as your character, I think that you should apologize if you want to have a relationship, because I'm telling you right now, I don't know if this is just like a girl's thing or not, but this would have rubbed me the wrong way. I'm trying to, like, not be so sensitive about it, but I think that just the way it went about, I think it was really rude. Yeah, I know that nobody agrees with me in the comments, and I don't care. I think it was rude. Well, there you have it. 2, not the a-hole. 1, you are the a-hole. Do you agree? Disagree? Do you think I'm also being a little sensitive in this situation? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thank you so much for watching.